back to Magical Perspectives with Steffan Soule and Ben Robinson. We are having several discussions about magic and our perspectives, and we've got illusions from our repertoire of many years of creating various effects that we're going to share, hoping indeed that it will, the sharing of it and the listening to these expositions will guide creativity in all of us, in yourselves, in us, and in each other. So we're going to share. Mine is from Steffan Soule's and Cooper Eden's 20th Century Alphabet of Dreams, Magic, and Miracles. It's a long story, but Doug Henning did use some of Cooper Eden's stuff, and this you can see really well here. There's 26 illusions, one for each letter of the alphabet. And A, B, C is hands of the clock. H is the hourglass. These were in Still Life with Iris, the hourglass, the seashells, dream blocks. Dream blocks was really something. It was. That's the clock, but this is dream blocks. And then hands of the clock is what I'm going to share with you now. Hands of the clock. A large clock with human hands is rolled onto the stage. Sophia, puzzled by the human hands, turns the clock around and opens the back to look for the person inside. She begins by removing the mechanical parts, many colored gears, a spring that goes on forever, a slightly bent wheel, and a strange rubber toy, but still no person. She peers through the empty clock to the audience. No sign of anyone inside. Sophia shuts the back door and spins the clock around. When it stops to face the audience, she is surprised to find that human legs and feet have joined the hands of the clock. The protruding hands and feet suddenly begin spinning in opposing circular paths around the face as the clock goes crazy with colored fireworks and explosions. When the noise and motion stop, the hands and feet have aligned themselves in a symmetrical human form. At this moment, Steffan's head appears at 12 o'clock. The face of the clock explodes into pieces, and Steffan is free. That's something.
Yeah.
Cooper Edens and Steffan Soule created this back in the 80s, and then that one was produced in Mysterion, the stage show.
It's great.
It takes a long time.
It does.
Till 99.
From the time you thought of it to the time you did it is how long?
Almost 20 years. Well, let's be real here. 85, let's say. To be safe, it was, let's just say 85. That's honest. It might have been 83. Probably was. But I'll say 85. Then we went on stage with it in 99 at almost 2000. So we could say January.
15 years.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. And it took a year to build it. Mickey Hades helped me design it in the late 80s. And his designs we paid for. So we sealed them, and they were serious business.
Uh-huh.
Nobody knew about it. John Gahn looked at it. He said, I can't figure it out, how to do it. It was not easy. In fact, it was the one illusion that I probably shouldn't have spent all that money on, because it kept costing and costing and costing. Because the gears the real gears that are really running those things as they're spinning, those would break, not break, but they wore pretty hard on each other.
Yeah.
Because they were torquing so much as those metal parts were spinning. And then the guy is on one of these things like what I'm sitting on now, but it was a compressor with air, and the air he'd hit with his foot, and the air would go, and he would come around so fast, and these flaps would open up and hide the back part of it all. So
This is for how long on stage?
oh gosh, that was a few seconds, that part.
Right.
But the whole thing was maybe a minute and a half.
Okay, so
max.
15 years for a minute and a half.
And I'm not kidding either.
Oh, no one's...
Yeah, you know, of course you know. Oh, who am I talking
Right,
about? I mean,
but
come on.
It's not for everybody, but if you polish a diamond or make fine watches, and I know Cartier sells a tank watch made in 1888. They want $250,000 for this watch. And why? Because every single gear in that watch was handmade by some artisan, and for it to work, it has to work.
Right.
And so you could say, well, why would you ever pay $250,000 for a watch? And the answer is because there's only one that was made this well. So that's why we do these things.
Yeah.
Your illusion is
ours
beautiful.
was like that.
It took forever.
Well, yeah. So Magic Hall is quite a book. I wrote a review on it, and on page 62 is one of the great pictures with a description of precision magic.
Yeah.
Where the team that shot it, the team that presented it, the team that directed it and created it and enacted it and all of that had to work with precision. And a lot of principles were taught by and represented by doing it. So yeah, why don't you tell us, fill us in?
The clock shot.
The clock shot.
The clock shot.
Good.
So I'll describe what happens, and I'll
Yeah.
see it later, and then I'll read the bit
Yeah,
from my
let's
new
hear
book,
about it.
Magic Hall. And I got into knife throwing seriously in 2016. And in 2018, I found a clock face in the garbage, and it was a big Roman numeral clock face. And there were hands. I have a picture of it you'll see in a minute. And in my mind, I had this vision that the numbers were targets and the hands were knives. And I was seeing it from above.
Nice.
And instead, we changed it to 13 and put it to the beat of a live drummer playing live. Anyway, one knife thrower threw 13 knives counterclockwise, which you'll see in the video. And then this will describe what we did and how long. Here we go.
That's great.
So the clock shot. On the left, you see a Roman numeral clock face that I retrieved from the garbage on a New York City sidewalk. Glancing at this iconic symbol, I immediately had a vision. The numbers were targets, and the clock hands became knives that were being thrown into the targets. One knife thrower would stand in the center and keep changing his angle as he threw 13 knives counterclockwise. The whole avant-garde event would be captured by new drone technology. Something small became enormous. It took 2 years to set up. The actual clock shot was green-lighted and produced as the centerpiece jewel of the companion film to my autobiography titled The Outlaw Hero, 2020. From a clock face discarded to thousands of miles traveled, 2 tons of wood traveled through 6 states, hundreds of hours of discussion about design, land loan, staffing, and building of sets during a pandemic seemed a fool's errand. I had to check my sanity. I called Bob Hartman, a high finance banker who'd bought and sold the entire debt of countries in the course of a few hours. He'd walked tightropes as high and dangerous as I proposed. He replied, "I've known you a long time. You were made to run this race." Bob, of course, was right. We should not have been able to do what we did. There was a dream world element to the focus of mission success. To attain the impossible, you have to silence the voice of any limits. 38 people in 4 countries contributed to what became 11 minutes of film. The knife thrower is Eugene. The drummer is Broadway's Ray Grappone. 1 year after the film was produced and seen by several 100,000 upon release on Vimeo, one of the conspirators called me and said, "I'm having difficulty understanding. Did we?" He recounted the impossible made possible that day. 13 targets acquired consecutively in less than 20 seconds, full spin to a beat. We trusted the unknown. We were not afraid to fail. We listened to our inner voices and gloriously succeeded. The universe placed the sun to have our targets cast 3D shadows only seen from our sky view. Unprecedented knife throwing opera. The clock shot is magical.
Wow. That is really something.
Yes, and when I said I had to check my sanity, it seems almost like an author's indulgence of, like, gee, was I crazy? However, when you really consider what we were doing,
I
carrying all
think
this
so.
wood during a pandemic, going to the top of a mountain, having our truck slide around in slushy mud to get to the top of it, working, by the way, under the conditions of the weather and how much sun we had. There was no artificial lighting, not even baffles for the lighting. Everything had to be done when it was asked for because of when we had the light, like any
Mhm.
outdoor filmmaking. So the question becomes, all right, why'd you do that? And the answer is because we were trying to illustrate this freedom that the book was about.
That's a good point. Yeah, you were. I do remember those days, hearing about it.
Yeah.
So I followed it a little as you went through that, and then the video is live now.
Yes.
Where
It's
where is it?
edited. It's on.
There's a link in the book, isn't
Yeah,
there?
it's
Yeah.
theoutlawhero.com. It's right there.
Oh, okay. That's
And we the clock shot was done like the rest of the film, all 11 minutes of it, as a commercial for the book. But tell me what movie doesn't have a trailer? Tell me what bath soap doesn't have a commercial? So everything is related in our society in terms of form and content. What we chose to do, however, was maybe the book was a little philosophical while having popular culture stories. But if you're going to describe freedom, you actually have to do it. You have to
yeah.
run a marathon. You have to jump the hurdles. You have to, uh, what's the one where you run with a
Pole
pole?
vault.
What?
Vault up.
Pole vaulter.
Yeah.
You either do it or you don't. And if you do it, you're giving it everything you can without any concern to anything else. And that's what we're talking about, where you work 15 years to get a minute and a half on stage, a minute and 6 seconds.
Right. Right.
Here, we're doing the impossible in that obviously it's not impossible because we did it, but it's highly unlikely. If you ask any pool player, 13 shots in a row, any basketball player, 13 perfect swishes from a jump shot, any football quarterback, 13 completions. Do you see where we are?
I think that the documentary about you guys making it is half of it in a way, because
Yes.
really, it's an artistic statement while you're building the art,
Yes, it is.
and then you have the art to show
Right.
after you've built it. But how you built it was kind of everything is in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And there was a certain amount of defiance going on because of what
Right.
was going on in this country as well.
Right.
So we simply, when we said defiance, let's be clear, it was not radical. It was simply saying,
Not really, no.
not at all. It's simply
Skillful
artistic.
and artistic
Skillful, artistic,
and a
and
little
saying
defiant.
we still have, we still have the freedom to make this. And one thing that I'm interested in, I'd like to hear your opinion of, is breaking paradigms. Prior to this, you hear knife thrower, they say, oh, you mean the guy in the bad suit, spangly suit, who throws at a woman and outlines her with knives, and that's it. That's all of knife throwing. And knife throwing isn't. It's a sport and an art. And so we took this gross macro example of 13 targets in a circle and hitting all 13, which is amazing. Do 13 of anything in a row. It's amazing. And he did it under extremely stressful conditions. And so we were simply saying, look, if you're 12 years old and you have a dream, go for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. And the fact that so you're a little bit like the tightrope walker over the Empire State Building or whatever it's called, when he's defiant because he set it up,
Yes.
but he's doing real good stuff when he's doing it.
Right.
So it's not like you're protesting while you're doing it.
No, it's
But you're by setting it all up that way, you're kind of like getting into the under the radar and making art.
Yes.
It's cool.
which
cool. Freedom.
it is freedom. And there's another story we won't read right now called Art Crimes in the book, when my gang broke into Grand Central Station, made a movie there without anybody being the wiser, because we couldn't afford the license to do it, but they wouldn't have even given us the license, not because of money, but because they don't want people doing things like we were doing. Nevertheless, we did it. We got the shot and we split. No one was hurt. But again, it's what we're referring to in the most polite sense, defiance.
Yeah. And now with a 4K camera, you can be pretty defiant without ever appearing to even be there.
Exactly.
You know, you just put it on here, strap it on, and walk through and get your shot.
Right. Yeah. So filmmaking has changed for the masses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic. I love what we're talking about, and I invite you to continue the discussions. We are right here with Magical Perspectives. We'll see you in the next video.